Samsung devices feel cheap and plasticky. That is a saying from 2014 because with 2015, Samsung has a new lineup, the Galaxy A series, which is completely made out of metal. Now today we're reviewing the Galaxy A7, Samsung's top tier Galaxy A series device. Now this is a 5.5-inch display and a completely unibody metal design. So as you can obviously imagine, the main attraction towards the device is its design and its attractiveness. And it's being targeted towards the youth of the Asian and European markets. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into the review of the Galaxy A7. Let's take off the wraps from the Galaxy A7's box and take a look at the contents inside and see what Samsung has put in this package. So the Galaxy A7's box, as you can see, it's nothing too exciting. It's just a nice subtle blue, different from the grays and whites that we've seen before. And right as you take off the box, you have the device in hand. We have unboxed this before, so we're just showing you what's inside. Let's take this away. There's a nice flap here, so if you just pull that out, you have your paperwork, your data cable, your wall wart, along with this little thing here, which is for you to eject the Galaxy A7's, and actually even the entire A series' main highlight is obviously the design. Now this is the first time Samsung has ever employed a full metal unibody design, and their execution here is absolutely amazing. The moment you pick up this device, you can feel the quality in your hand, and that truly says something about how well this thing was made. Now if you just take a look at it, you'll see that a lot of the design inspiration has been taken from the Galaxy Note 4 and the Galaxy Alpha, and that really isn't a bad thing, because it's something that they've tried before and it works really well. Now, the success to this design is clearly the use of the much more premium metal, but you must also notice the fact that this thing is just 6.3 millimeters thin. That makes it thinner than the new iPhone and most other market phones in the same price bracket. Now, even though it is thin, it weighs 141 grams and it's evenly distributed throughout the entire device, which gives it a very even feel. So it doesn't feel top heavy or bottom heavy, and it feels very stable when you're holding it. Now the thinness may be a worry of some people because they think that it makes the phone more prone to slipping and stuff like that, but since these sides are nice and flat, it's incredibly easy to grip and there should be no worry about having it drop from your hand. The metal on the back is not feeling as good as I would have expected. It has a nice matte finish, but that also makes it feel less cold and metallic. And it's not really a bad thing, but it could have been a bit better. One thing about the design of the Galaxy A7 that I do not like are these chamfered edges. Now this gives it a very attractive look and it reflects the sunlight and other light sources very well, but it is incredibly prone to scratching. And that's something that we've seen on the Galaxy Alpha and the Galaxy Note 4 before. So that is something that you can't do anything about, and the only way if you can really protect it is to get a case that covers up all these pretty edges. Otherwise, these edges are bound to get scratched. If you take a look at the back, you'll see that the camera is actually sticking out a good bit. And this also has another metallic finish right around the edge of the camera, sort of like a border. And unlike the chamfered edges that I just mentioned before, this thing does not scratch as easily, which is kind of ironic. But it is actually a good thing since the camera is a very important component that needs protection. Now flanking the camera, you have a single LED flash as well as the speaker module. Now the speaker is very good quality, but the placement on the back is absolutely stupid on this regard. Because, I mean, everybody knows having a speaker that is good on the back is not going to make the audio quality any better. Even if you have it near the bottom or maybe even on the front, which is obviously the best, it's going to shine. And the speaker is really good, but its sheer placement just undermines the whole experience here. On the bottom of the device, we have the micro USB port as well as the 3.5mm headset jack. I actually would have liked the headset jack to be on the top of the device, but it's okay, it's fine. You also have a mic on the bottom. Around the sides, you have full metallic buttons, which are really nice and clicky, and if you can hear this, they're very responsive and have a good bit of travel and depth to them. On the top, we have just another microphone, and on the other side, we have the power button along with the slots where you can put in your micro SD card, as well as 2 SIMs. This is the Duos variant. Now, you've seen the SIM ejector tool in the unboxing previously. One more thing to note are these plastic ridges that are along the top over here. Now, these are for cell reception and antenna, because as the entire device is made out of metal, you need some way to get signals on your device. Up front, it's a typical Samsung layout. You have your home button as well as your speaker and the big bold Samsung logo. Now, this home button is not a fingerprint scanner, so be warned about that. Flanking the home button, you have 2 touch capacitive keys, which are decent in outdoors, but sometimes you'll find that you can't really see them under really bright light conditions. Up the front here, we have a 5 megapixel camera along with the proximity sensor. The camera hub prevents this from lying flat on any surface, but the good thing about that is it allows a lot of space for the speaker to shine, so the sound isn't passing right down onto the surface. It's actually got some space to dissipate around. The Galaxy A7 has a 5.5-inch Super AMOLED display, and it is among the best that we've seen from Samsung in the past few years. It has a full HD resolution and a pixel density of 401 pixels per inch. As expected of an AMOLED display, everything looks really nice, sharp, and vibrant. The blacks are really deep, and it's something that is only found on an AMOLED display where the pixels actually shut down, so you have the deepest possible blacks. In fact, if you zoom into a picture on a black area, nobody's even going to be able to tell you if the device is on or off, because the screen is actually just pure black. Now, the viewing angles on this device are absolutely excellent. If you tilt it around to almost 0 degrees, you can still see the screen with a lot of detail. The brightness of the device also goes up a good bit and can be adjusted accordingly. Although on the lower end, we would have preferred it to be a little more brighter. Moving through, you can see that images appear really nice, crisp and sharp, and zooming in and out is really easy. Everything looks bright and colorful, and the display just gets the job done. With the Snapdragon 615, we usually do have a good idea about how the processor is going to work, but just to show you its capabilities, we're here playing Modern Combat 5, which is probably by far the most intense mobile game that is available. Now, just to let you know, we're playing Modern Combat 5 with the minimal graphics situation because we do not want to overload this, and when you're playing at a higher situation, it actually does lag a little bit.
Stay back.
As you can see, the frame rates are really nice and smooth, and everything works really well. But if you play at a higher GFX level, you might start to see some lag.
So who are you? How do you know Rue?
Also take this opportunity to notice the audio quality here. The Galaxy A7 runs Android 4.4.4 KitKat, obviously with TouchWiz on top. Now, this version of TouchWiz is actually very familiar to us because we have seen this on the Galaxy Note 4 as well as the Galaxy Alpha, and in that sense, it is one of the best forms of TouchWiz in the market. Now, TouchWiz lag isn't as present here because Samsung has done a lot to optimize the software and actually reduce a good deal of bloat. Now, we still see the colorful iconography as well as the overloaded settings menu, but it's much better than any previous version of TouchWiz available. Everything works nice and smooth, and you often find that the Galaxy A7 is working as expected from a mid-range Android device. The A7 has a 2600 mAh battery and can power you through most of the entire day and maybe some of the next. Now, the main battery consumer is the screen, which is obviously a 1080p unit, so it makes sense that it consumes so much battery power. Standby time on this device is actually pretty good. You'll lose about 2 to 3% overnight. We see some of the other classic Samsung TouchWiz features come here, such as power saving and ultra power saving mode. Now, in ultra power saving mode, if you activate this, it's basically going to turn your phone into a dumb phone and turn everything into a grayscale color tone so that you save power. Now, this can help you last about 9 days on 50% charge, which is something extraordinary. We're nearing the end of the review, so let's take a look at the camera. Now the main camera here is a 13 megapixel unit, and as you can see, it shoots in an aspect ratio of 4:3. You can go into the settings and change that and select a 16:9 aspect ratio with a 9.6 megapixel sensor. Now that won't give you the maximum quality, but it will give you a more traditional sized photo. Now this is incredibly similar to what we've seen on the Galaxy Note 4 and Alpha, and has practically the same layout. Over here you can go and select between your different modes, such as panorama, beauty face, etc, etc, HDR, night mode, and the list goes on. You can even download some from the Samsung Galaxy App Store. Over here in the settings, you can change things such as adding effects, or maybe setting a timer, or even setting the flash. Over here you have the rest of the settings, and something that I would like you to take note here is that in the recording mode, there is no slow or fast motion, something that was really disappointing for me. Other than that, you only get video recording up to full HD, which is 1920 by 1080. You don't have 2K or 4K recording here, even though it is a 13 megapixel sensor. Aside from that, the camera takes really good quality photos, especially in good daylight. In low light, the camera takes decent photos, but they're nothing worth really mentioning. As you can see some camera samples here, the colors are really nice and vibrant, and there is a lot of detail to the images. And I really appreciated and had fun using this camera. Videos too are okay, but since there is no optical image stabilization, things look a little jittery and shaky from time to time. The front-facing camera is 5 megapixels and can be accessed simply by going through this toggle right here on the top right corner. Now the 5 megapixel camera is also a CMOS sensor, just like the rear camera. Now as this smartphone is targeted towards more of a young audience, there are some camera features that aren't available on other smartphones from Samsung. Now the first one that you see here is the ability to add some editing features such as changing the size of your eyes. Now if you take a close look, you can see that my eyeballs just got extremely large, and it might just look a little weird and abnormal. But for those of you who are into that, that's a really good thing. Other than that, you can also use this to slim down your face. So right now, I look a little bit thinner than I really am. Now the effects can go from crazy and outlandish to actually pretty believable. Another feature that they've added is the ability to take pictures by just showing your palm. So just turn on the toggle there and show your palm. It's going to start a timer and take a picture. Aside from that, you can also say the words cheese or smile and shoot, and see, just like that, it's going to take a photo again. That more or less sums up the features of the front-facing camera. To sum up the Galaxy A7, let's go over the positives and the negatives of the device. Starting with the positives, there are quite a few. First of all, this thing is incredibly thin. It's 6.3 millimeters thin and is the thinnest smartphone ever made by Samsung. Not only that, it has a complete metal construction, full unibody metal, which gives it an incredibly premium feel and look. Now, as this is targeted towards the younger audience, this is obviously a point of interest for them. Aside from that, there is a very good camera, which is a 13 megapixel unit, and the front-facing camera is also a good 5 megapixel unit. So your imaging needs are completely covered there. Aside from that, it has decent battery life at about a day's worth with a 2600 mAh battery. On top of that, it also has a micro SD card slot, something that is not available in the newly released Galaxy S6, so that is a point of concern. The 5.5-inch display is full HD, thus has a very good resolution and allows very good experiences whenever you're consuming media or playing games. Moving on to the negatives, the very first thing that I notice is the absence of a notification LED. Come on, Samsung, this is 2015. It should be a standard on this sort of a mid-range device. Other than that, as I mentioned earlier on in the review, the bezels and the edges, they scratch like crazy. Moving on to the back of the device, we see that the camera does stick out a slight bit. So whenever you put it down onto a flat surface, it doesn't rest completely flat and poses a bit of a risk to damage your camera module. Aside from that, the battery is non-removable, so all of you Samsung people, all of the Samsung fans who've been having this feature for years on years, you might be a little disheartened over here. Finally, the last nail in the coffin in terms of negatives is probably the price. Now, the Galaxy A7, depending on where you are, costs above $400. Now, with the specifications you find here, you'll probably get a lot of other devices that do cost less and provide the same specifications. But that really isn't what Samsung is aiming for over here. With the Galaxy A7, it is more about the aesthetics and the premium feel of the product rather than the specifications. So for that, you are expected to pay a premium price. All in all, the Galaxy A7 is an absolutely amazing device, and we do recommend it for those of you who are looking for a quality experience with a mid-range price. Thank you, stay tuned to TechieTron, and like and share our videos.
We'll be right back.